hope you're well. Happy Sunday. It's wonderful to be with you all this Sunday. Always the highlight of my week. And I hope you all had a nice week. It's beautiful today in California. It's not too hot and slightly overcast, and we're having the most wonderful summer where we're not being baked alive. So I give God thanks for that. And so why don't we take a moment to sort of tune in, calm our minds. I've been doing little settings and things this morning on more the technical side, and so I want to have a moment to sort of focus. And okay, so why don't we all kind of do that together? Get comfortable. I'm going to speak just for a bit, and then we'll move from there. So it's still early morning for me here. So it's helpful to rub the eyes a little bit. You realize we hold a lot of tension in our eyes and we never touch them. So, of course, keep the eyelids closed and lightly moving them in circles, you'll see it releases a lot of tension and helps us sort of calm down. And then putting the fingertips together helps balance the body and helps us sort of rest by the tension kind of subsiding, and we kind of enter a more core place in us where it's stiller and there's less movement of the waves of our minds and our energies. So let's take a moment. As we do this, we open up our senses to the sounds around us. We never strive to push anything away. When we find our center, it's with an unconditional openness. And we come to learn to rest in that. So when we find our center, it's not like a rowboat where we're gripping both sides for dear life as we're being tossed and turned by the energy. It's actually in the release and the letting go, in that balance we create, that the water naturally calms itself. So we're working directly with the water and the agitation or the speed, not so much working on balancing ourselves on top, which is what people try to do in society. We're realizing that the momentum and everything is within our control itself. And one of the techniques is to put our awareness into our senses. And we realize there's a lot of calm and beauty around us. For example, my window is open when I start, especially before people start walking their dogs and they make noise. And so I'm hearing the beautiful birds in their song. The building is quiet, and I hear silence, an open space that's cool and still. And it's not silent, actually. It has a sound, has a spacious quality, has an energetic frequency. And so when we open, all that is medicine to our speed and to our agitation. And it allows us to sort of sink into deeper parts of ourselves. And even our physical bodies start feeling better. Pain and tension are reduced because the level of agitation energetically subsides. Yes? So let's take a moment and do that together. You can have your hands. If you're seated in a chair like I am right now, you could put your hands on your lap where it's comfortable, or you could put your fingertips together where it's comfortable, as long as you're not holding a posture. And then just breathe and let go. Or you can cup your hands in a more Zen position in your lap with, I put the right hand on top of the left. So the right fingertips is touching the palm, and the left fingertips are underneath the right hand, and it's sort of touching the knuckles, the left fingertips, and then the thumbs are together. That's a touching. So it's a sort of, you're creating a zero by your thumbs and your hand, and it's rested on your lap. That's a classic posture as well. And all of this is to create balance and calm in our body. As you notice with this posture, you're connecting the left and right hemispheres of the body in a similar way than when you put the fingertips over the chest. But the fingertips over the chest are in front of the heart chakra. So it creates an energetic focus more towards the top. This is an energetic focus more towards the bottom, and it's more grounded. It's different. Different placement of hands create different effects with our body energy. Just like finger positions, finger movements creates effects with our body, hence different postures of hands during meditation, something which I have not gone into. Not important right now. So you find your posture that feels calm. And with time, you just allow your body, which is quite conscious and intelligent, it would naturally find the right posture. So let's take a moment. Deep breath, exhale. Don't forget to breathe. You can bring in a blessing. Just by resting, you bring in the blessings that's innate in us, always there. But in your mind, if you want to work on saying names internally. So it's like saying it in your mind, like you're talking to yourself, except you're saying a name, and you could bring in the name or the combination of names that you're working on. Or if you're more on the Aleph, you focus the Aleph in your mind. And you do it a couple times if you're saying the name. You're saying the Aleph, it just sits there in your mind. And see if you could feel the blessing emanate from it. So for me, you can say it with an intent. What are you asking for? Now, often I don't ask for anything, but sometimes it's important to pray for oneself and for others. If people or you need it, that's acceptable. But you don't always want to be only praying when you're asking for something. That's not correct, right? Sometimes you just need to say thank you, or I love you, or just rest in the name and the energy, and you let it bathe you. Yes? But for this, as we're starting our morning together, for me, the prayer is, for Yahweh to bless me, still my mind, calm my body, so I may come into my center, so that He can flow through me and His teachings and wisdom, so I can share with you all. So I'm kind of praying that I get out of the way, see? And that there's a center that emanates. And for somebody listening, a possible intention would be to find center and calm, so that God may enter, so Hashem can enter your minds, your hearts, your souls, your body, and you receive blessings and guidance and wholeness and health, and increase alignment in His name. Amen. Amen. Whew. Oh, my glasses. So, I hope people felt that. So, last week, how was that practice for everyone? It was a little more hardcore, wasn't it? Gives you a little taste of the training I went through. But I'm trying to convey or help is to connect with the heart of God that's inside of all of us. And it requires a certain level of practice. It's a training. In society, we're habituated to behave a certain way. One moment, please. A little something disturbing my energy. Sometimes we have to take that space, especially if we want to do something that's important. So when we practice, we're growing a certain muscle. And sometimes we sort of have to push through in a way. So when it was an hour-long practice, there were probably, you've noticed, without my voice coming on, there were certain periods or walls that it became a little more challenging. And I imagine around the 40-minute mark, 3 minutes, there's a little bit of a wall. And it's energetic. We want to get up. It's a little hard to sit still. The mind becomes particularly agitated and it starts getting uncomfortable. How many people felt that? I think maybe a lot of people. Mantras help with that, and that's the power of mantra. But if you're just doing a sitting practice in meditation, it's a thing. And what it is, these agitations, these walls, often at the 15 and 18-minute mark, and then again at the 35, 40-minute walk, is the mind. Our minds can't take stillness. Why? So, I'm going to say something a little profound from centuries of wisdom and knowledge. It's because our mind only exists in its movement. Mind, what I call thoughts and thinking, what we think is ourselves, only maintains itself through its movement. Like a lamp, the current lights it up. Now, our current is always lighting up our minds. So we think it's stable and permanent, and I think we've learned that's not the case. But when we sit still, we relax. Our current no longer feeds the light as much. Now, a light bulb is passive. It receives. Our brains are not passive. So when it stops getting the feed it needs, our agitation, our going along with it, our perpetuating the movement with our awareness kind of being co-opted, and we think the mind is who we are, then we're living there, then everything's stable. When we connect with deeper sources of resonance, like the stillness within us, or in mantras of God, which promotes wisdom and stability and calm, deeper sources of wisdom and calm and knowledge that transcend, that are beyond the mind, that's beneath the mind doesn't like that because it gets agitated. It's feeling that it's losing its grip, its power is being unplugged. So it gets more agitated. And we feel the pressure. We have palms to focus. We think of things we want to do. We feel suffocated. Okay? So we learn to work with that. It's like in the Star Trek movies. I think we've all seen Star Trek. So when it hits a nebula, right, one of those gaseous clouds in space, or a big shock wave, right, like in one of the Star Trek movies, the ship was hit by a massive shock wave and everything sort of fell to pieces and they were being shaken and they had to turn into the wave and it was like a thing. Well, that's literally how it feels like. Our body's the ship and the mind and the wave is what we're feeling. And the instruction is we learn to stand, to sit, to maintain our presence through it. And the wave passes past. And on the other side is a great relief, an exhale of pressure and a certain clarity. That's the resistance of the mind. And when we feel that leaving, we open and a release. Because we've passed the level of the mind and now we're sitting and living and in presence of a deeper portion of ourselves. And it's naturally calm, awake, and emanating a deeper presence of God. You see, this is why all these things are important. So it's the mind sort of having its freak out because we're no longer wishing to resonate from that. And that self that we're trying to become in our lives, and we try to use a lot of external things to find that inner happiness, that inner calm, the sense of well-being, actually exists right beneath the mind naturally. That's when you come across a sage, somebody who's very wise, somebody very religious, someone very holy. You sense calm and presence. They're not easily rattled or agitated. And they're very conscious in their movements and what they say tend to be a little more pensive, thinking, quiet, intentional. It's because they live from a deeper part of themselves. And the aspects of what lives in each and every single one of us has the space to emanate forward. It blesses themselves, that energy and the energy in their body, and then it radiates outwards through the energy that radiates from them, from their voice, from their actions. They perceive through their eyes in a more wise and transcendent way, and not a normal way of perceiving. And normally it's one that's infused with more compassion and seeing things and understanding things, their mind, or processing what they hear with greater spaciousness. Therefore, it's less their involvement on what they would like personally, but a clearer seeing, hearing, processing as to the reality of a situation, of our world, of our engagement. And by having that perspective, it's in passion, understanding, tolerance, patience. Because these virtues, and all the virtues spoken in the holy texts, and in the Torah and the Tanakh, and any other holy scriptures, are the virtues that we try to create in our lives. So we can create it as we intentionally, when we're living in our minds, right? Because there's a whole process of trying to get beyond by resting, but that's a process that takes time, and there's different levels of that. So we intentionally try to be more patient and kind, but by dropping in, we naturally are that without having to be intentional, without desiring or being conscious of, I want to be like this. One naturally is. We are naturally holy, wise, compassionate, forgiving, generous, tolerant people at our core. So what we do with a lot of what we're doing is to connect with that. Not trying to fix things, not trying to force ourselves to do this. That's working and trying to steady a rowboat on the waves of our minds. What we try to do is go through the waves to that stillness beneath, where it's calm. And in that stillness is the voice of God, is the Shekhinah, and it's waiting for us. The Aleph, tree of life, is there, and it sustains us. Being able to resonate in that energy, one can live with less sleep. One doesn't need to eat as much, because we're fed by energy, and our body has become less dense. We kind of change in a way from density to more an energetic way of being. We're partially fed by the air and the water around us, and the rays and heat of the sun from the leaves and the bark, the beauty of the birds, all that becomes an energy, a medicine, and it helps sustain. Does that make sense? So when we do our practice and it's a little more hardcore, it's an opportunity to work directly with our resistance. And we have techniques. The mantras, mindful stretching, making sure we have water next to us, an conducive environment that's calm, enough fresh air. We put up our incense. We have our prayer space to give us that contact with what we consider to be holy and things to rest our minds. You know, a traditional technique is to meditate in front of a wall. Not what I was taught. Another tradition does that. But to have something to look at that inspires. So we have all these things to try to create a space that allows us to rest. And initially when you start, that resistance comes, and maybe it's not quite time to push through it. So you work against it and you kind of don't quite get through, and you're a little afraid to push through, and you don't know what it is on the other side. But with time, it mellows, a couple weeks, a week or two, 3. And then you say, you know what, I'm going to try to get to the other side of this. And then you hold on, and you're being shaken like the ship. You're kind of tossed around, right? Sort of like the ship on Gilligan's Island, if people know that reference. Ship is tossed and thrown about. Right? It feels like that. It only lasts for a couple minutes, and you breathe. You remember to breathe. You remember to connect with the energy inside your body. Right? You could say a mantra, but that shifts it. A higher level is you don't say a mantra there, because that trains you to go through it. And then with time, and it doesn't take long, it's easier to go through it. It's always the first time or two. And so when we hit that 40-minute walk mark, 35 minutes for me, you feel it again. And you breathe and you go through it. And then often you feel this release of energy. And that's the energy that's trapped in the mind. It's our karmic momentum. All that mitzvah of everything in our lives creates a frequency, an energy, a battery holding. And there's a charge. And often when you pass that, you feel a massive relief and a little horrified sometimes, because you think you're calm until you feel it leave you. And you're like, oh my God, I was holding that. How did I not know? And you're a little horrified that you were living in that state. And sometimes my whole upper body just moves forward in relief. And I allow it. So I'm in full lotus, and my whole upper body just moves down and goes right to the floor. And maybe I put out my hands to further release the energy with palms up, and you just like a, and you realize, and that release clears. We're all looking for relief. We all are. Unless you're far along in the spiritual religious path. Relief. Right? We exercise often for relief. We do yoga for relief. People drink and smoke, do pot, everything for relief. Right? That gets into really problematic problems when you do it in excess. People overeat, overdrink. Nothing wrong with a couple beers or glass of wine. That's acceptable, in your culture and your religion, right? But it's the excess. And why is it done? Overindulgence in sex, all of this. Why? To find relief, to find peace. And we search for it because it's our birthright. We come from a place of peace and with relief. And so when we do a prayer or a time individually, we train strength training by working on doing longer and longer periods of time with the silence. All those little tips that I give a little bit along the way, and hopefully people go back and listen to them. You don't have to listen so much to the silence, but maybe you could find the places where I end up speaking and you see the little tidbits of here and this and that. Those are all sort of how to handle energy. And you start having the knowledge and the ability on how to maneuver everything so you naturally descend into the lap of God. Does that make sense? The holiness is within. It doesn't have to be created. It's there. It doesn't have to be managed. We don't have to find the magic door or a certain thing or posture or even years and decades of practice and study, though it's beautiful and wonderful and you get deeper and deeper levels, especially if you've already dropped in. So we're learning to let go of societal programming, our parents, our PTSD, our wishing of what is, our rejection of what is, our wishing of what we would like it to be, or what it should be, the desire of what it should be, and everything else. When we take that space, we're just letting it go. And our minds may choose to go to the future or the past, or what we're going to do, or what we are upset about, and we learn to bring ourselves back to what we're doing. And that's being in front of the presence of God in prayer. And each time we bring back, we train our minds to be still. And as we train more and more, we slowly descend through the waves, the different lower levels of the mind. And as we go deeper, it becomes more still. But then as the mind starts gets unplugged, because we're no longer playing its game, there's a freak out. It freaks out. We freak out. And that's the agitation. And the instruction is breathe through it. Maintain the presence of God. Maybe say a name of God once or twice. But with time, I advise you to ride it through hardcore, because that wires your body to go through it. But sometimes it's helpful to say a name of God and you relax, and then it passes. And then there's that pregnant open space. So there's different ways to do it. So this image is a little intense, but it has an underlying truth. So we can approach the chariot and get closer through our actions and everything we do, right? As you get in the radiance of what that is, the presence, but it's not so much the presence of God, it's the frequency of holiness, a wakefulness of the eternal. So we do that through our actions and mitzvot, and we approach it. It radiates more in us, and we become that. With this technique, it's more like we're dropping into the center of the chariot through relaxing. So we can see this as being the center of our inner cathedral. Yes? And the mind and where we are is above it. Oh, here's a perfect analogy for us. I'm into this. So the ocean and the water I was describing can be the clouds. And the stormy weather is the energy of our clouds, of our minds, always agitated, whether we're aware of it, always thinking, even if we think we're calm, holding a lot of energy. So as we descend through, it shakes and rattles. There's a lot of turbulence in the clouds. And there could be stormy weather, right? Lightning, thunderstorms, if we're particularly agitated or angry or triggered. And so we're descending through. And as the clouds lose their power, often in the middle or towards the bottom, you really feel the shake, right? The manifestation of the rain, and you see the thunder and the lightning. None of it's real. It's all the creation of the mind. It's no realness. It's our projection. It's our desire. It's our personality. We drop through into a clear space. And as we drop through, and that energy is released, and we pass it, we realize there was never any clouds. Take my word for it. I'm not making this up. This doesn't only come from me. These are truths with a capital T. You realize on the other space, what was that? What was agitating me? That's a contemplative form of meditation, which I always say we'll get into, but we never seen, but we'll get into it. After you finish your practice, you could think, oh, I dropped through. What changed? What was the difference? What was that? What in the world's going on that I'm not understanding before? And it's clear, it's open. The sun always shines. God always is shining. We're just in the cloud cover, in the agitation. And so as the Aleph is about to drop into the Aleph seat of the chariot, right, as you see it above the chariot, we're literally dropping into the center of the chariot. We're not approaching it from the side of our actions. We're beginning to realize that the core of us, the core of our essence, is always resting in the chariot. And as we go deeper through our practice and our prayers, also as our actions in the world and everything, what we create, the energy of our karma, of our mitzvot, starts being rectified, we go deeper and deeper into the chariot as we deepen our manifestation of Emmanuel, closer and closer to the attributes and the frequencies, the actions and the thoughts of God, of Emmanuel, how those characteristics of God would manifest here on earth. We become better, holier, happier, calm people. We no longer add to the waves and the issues of this planet. We become more medicine to ourselves, to our families, to our societies. So this practice is a practice of holiness and compassion and wisdom. The connection with God is a connection with the pure part of ourselves, with our birthright. And what is landing on the chariot? That is nothing to be afraid of at all. One thinks it's scary. Could be. You don't know what it is. It doesn't turn you into something you're not. You do not, in other words, become erased. God does not hijack you. You don't dissolve into nothing. You don't leave this planet and then the Shekhinah is walking through your body. What does happen is that you're plugged into a source, into the source, the frequency of Hashem, of the Shekhinah. What sources are we plugged into now? See, this is just a choice. Oh, why? This is getting profound. What's already been profound. Like in the 10th or 12th gear, should have prepped all of you. It's like we've never been in neutral. That's just not what's going on here. We might think we're plugging into a different source, and we are, but we're always plugged into a source. We're never truly ourselves. So is our source our minds? Everything that's happened to us, our society, our parents, our grandparents, everything that's ever affecting us, our thoughts, our desires, that's a source. And most of the people in society are plugged into that source. And we don't know any better. And we like it because it's sort of the bed we've always slept in, the mattress, the sheets, our smell on the pillow. It's comfortable, yet not so comfortable. Right? Because there's a lot of issues with that bed. And we wish for something a little better, something deeper, something that cures us, something that helps us, something that we feel we're missing, or to improve our bed. So some people look to swap out pillows or mattresses, different partners, different apartments, different medications, all, cleaning it up. And it helps because it calms the mind if something's really disturbing and helps us. But it's not to lay into a different bed. What we're learning is to unplug that. It's not real. It ain't. Take my word for it. It's a mirage. Because when we die, the energy of our body and our minds, it goes. I mean, look at medicine. You have the those masks over their head and brain dead. You see those 12 or 14 things flatline. Well, that's the energy that maintains the mind. That's no longer working, is it? So what goes? The deeper part of ourselves. So why don't we plug into something different? Plug into the Shekhinah, into the Aleph, into Hashem, into Adonai, into Yahweh, into Emmanuel, into Elohim. And so when we do a mantra, we're plugging into that energy. And with practice and time, we live from that place. And we realize the mattress was something that was created. Whether we're aware of it or not, with time, it became what it was. So we grow older from a baby screaming in the crib. I think I read somewhere that babies can't see for the first couple months or something. I don't know. Haven't been around too many babies. So, right? Defenseless, dependent on the mother's milk. Right? Completely raw and open. Skin hurts. Temperature needs to be at the right temperature in the room. Body can't really regulate energy. Am I correct? Can't really grip even a finger that much. Right? Can't speak. But with time, we develop coping mechanism, things we like, things we don't like, how we engage, how we react to situations. A world. That's sort of our bed. It's where we live. It's where we feel comfortable. It's our range of desires and comforts. And it's created. A baby in the womb is closer to Hashem, perfected in the embryo of becoming, in the transition on this planet. And then everything sort of happens, including the great shock of being in a beautiful, warm, sort of oily environment of a mother's stomach, where you see through the skin a sort of pinkish reddish color that's not too bright, and you feel warm. And as you meditate further, you actually remember it. I know it's shocking. I remember once my grandfather asked me, I was all of 17. God, I love that man. Do you remember being born? I remember everything. I looked at him and I was like, wow, older age. They really think a few things. The man was trying to point to me the possibilities of things. Then many, many years later, after he's passed, so I can't even talk to him about it, sadly, you realize it. And you realize that consciousness has a much longer bandwidth than we think it does. When we're born, a massive shock, the pains of labor, our mother is in distress. We've been living in her and the heart beats out of control. She's screaming. We're either cut out or we pass through something that's tight. And often sometimes pulled through by the doctor, and then we hit much colder space that's very bright. That's a shock. And there becomes a certain disconnect from that core of ourselves. And then everything overlays on top. And so what we're doing is a profound healing, my dear friends. Touching in of that cosmic, God-given reset button to something purer and truer and holier that lives within each and every single part of ourselves. It's a frequency. It's the masculine and feminine portions of the Shekhinah. But let me just say this. I don't think you can really see where God leaves off and begins the Shekhinah. Because the Shekhinah is literally what God is in its essence. It's not divorced from God. It's merely what we experience of Him. It's the hotline. When one learns to connect with that and bad things happen in our lives, we can instantly pull up that red phone and have that direct link and be like, oh my God, help me. Or what the F is going on? Please give me some clarity here on what to do. Yes, the conversations can be raw, because it's honest and it's always respectful. And there's a healing that occurs and a communication, but we've developed it because we're no longer above the clouds, and we've learned to kind of go through a lot of that turbulence, and we're in the frequency of the Merkava chariot. That radiance of the Aleph, we feel it. And it heals us from the bottom up. Our practice goes from the top down. And since we're radiating with the names, it goes from the bottom up. And our actions are more and more in alignment. And you see the stackables. I believe in working from every single little direction possible. The stretching, the mantras, the massage, the therapy, if you need medication. I threw the whole kitchen sink into my practice. I was so done with it all. And with the level of abuse that I had to deal with in a work environment that left me extremely suicidal, to the point that I had to call a group of people and saying, I need to see something ASAP because I'm literally slipping. Yes, I made that call. That's when the body has too much and it's piggybacked off other things. And when you experience that, you start pulling all the different levers, and you throw everything into the kitchen sink. And you realize that it all helps each other, because we're undoing different parts of the bed and releasing the things we've accumulated that never belonged to us. We release the abuse because it never belonged to us. That was about the other person. But our battery has become too full, and we can't hold it anymore, and it's toxic. We all carry toxicity. So we're deciding to unplug from that to something pure, something that's beautiful. See, you learn to trust your instincts. And I felt to open my little portfolio of beautiful images that I accumulate, and I found the perfect one. Shalom. Perfect. There's an image. That's a real, oof. I haven't looked this one in a long time. That is profound. That is really a profound image. I can give a whole teaching on this image. The levels. Just waiting there for today. So it's actually one of my favorite images, and I haven't seen it in quite a while. That can be an object of meditation, and sitting with that and saying, what exactly does that mean? That's what we can plug into. An aligned portion of ourselves that's connected purely to God. From the energy coming up from our lower chakras, giving us life. Yes, I haven't talked about that. That's the stuff that's coming up from below. Through our connection and wholeness, because the arms are connected to the heart area, which balances the body, the leg posture in half lotus. So the purest form of that picture would be in full lotus. And the radiance of the heart, you see the light, then connected through the crown chakra up. So the wisdom, the Shekhinah, the Merkava chariot, fully going to the top, Sifirot, Keter and above, right? And then the wisdom coming down. And the halo around the head is the frequency that lives and connects with the person, the aura. And in traditional painting, it's golden, describing saintliness, which would be someone who lives or close to, radiates the Shekhinah out into the world and lives in his person in a real tangible way, because they've plugged into something else. So there's always a choice. What do we choose to plug into? That choice is available to us each and every single day, each and every single moment, each and every single second, and each and every single millitesimal second. Because every second is fresh and new. Every second is a rebirth. Consciousness, here's a truth. Isn't coherent. It's not like a string. It's a string, it's a presence that exists and being rebuilt at every microsecond. Our minds are wavelengths. Isn't so much a solid boat like we think it is. It's literally existing second to second, millisecond to millisecond. It's happened so fast, we think it's consistent and stable. It's not. So, because we're in movement, we think it is. But when you get beneath the wave, one begins to realize that every second it's fresh and new. It doesn't hold anything from the past and the future. Our desires, our pain, what we have aversion to, what we resist or don't like or push away. Aversion is sort of rejecting, pushing away. Look it up. It's a good word to look up. Aversion, I think it is. It's not real because it's consciousness, consciousness, consciousness. Awake, awake, awake. Every second is a renaissance, 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 renaissance. Rebirth is every second, every millisecond. It's fresh. So ultimately, there's nothing to work through because the basis of it is open and clear. The basis of it is the radiance of life, which ultimately comes from the source, which is the Aleph. Do you see how it's all connecting? Where's my Aleph? So when we practice and we take the time to do it, we are training ourselves and learning how to connect with the frequencies of a different plug. Unplugging ourselves from our habits and the world and everything and learning to radiate from something different. Learning to live from a different place. To live from a place and a way of being that we pull or are connected to that energy. The rider and the horse. We've tamed our minds, which is the horse, and we've domesticated it. We use it because it is necessary. How to circumnavigate this world is mind and thinking, but there's deeper aspects of mind. The mind at some point just goes away. It's not needed. But we learn to tame ourselves to something that's aligned. The horse here could be the Merkava chariot, and we're at the reins of the chariot. We're riding the Shekhinah. We're linked to the Shekhinah, which is sort of the portal behind us. The light of God, energy of God that in turn guides and flows through us, and we're in alignment. But that doesn't replace God and put God in our horse. That person is middle-aged, he's a man, I think he has a beard, and if you looked at his face, you probably can get a sense of personality. That horse has a personality. It's unique to every single one of us. It's the purified form of each and every single one of us. And we're all distinct and special. But we're no longer put in to things that we think are us, but we're plugged in to the Shekhinah, to our birthright. We plug back in to what we were in the womb, or when we were conceived, or what before we were conceived, that heart and consciousness of God. Makes sense? So when we do practice and we encounter these energetic things and we want to get up, or we realize this is boring, or this is repetitive, or I would rather do this or that, or be entertained by this or that, or, I'm kind of over it, that's fine. That's our normal nature. But we need at that point to make a decision. Those things ultimately, what they are, and this is no judges, no judgment, it's just what it is, that's the mind resisting and trying to perpetuate itself because it feels the tension. And in our lives, we just naturally just follow that because that's what I want to do. That's what I feel. Oh, I don't like this. And modern society is more and more driven by these impulses, and we see the results. But we realize there's another way of being, which I hope we've all experienced now at some point, a fresher, nicer, holier, just amazing space that we can tap into. And we like it because it's really closer to our true selves. Yes? And so we realize that these impulses are something that we don't need to entertain. It's a mind, a bandwidth, an energy that's trying to maintain itself. That's not really us. And so by working through these things, the energy to get up, to shift, to be like, oh, this week isn't quite what I'm looking for, you see the opportunity to break through and go deeper. Or not. There's a choice. And maybe it's not time, and maybe it's a process, which is fine. But there's still a choice there. So we have to be careful if people have certain mental, psychiatric, ways of being that aren't as common and baseline, like bipolar, schizophrenia. You have to be careful. I don't have these conditions, so I can't speak to it. But you have to make sure that by doing this doesn't trigger a state of mania. So you have to check and be safe. I don't know. My teachers always said that, so I pass that on. But it's normally very safe. But if you ever feel unbalanced, you need to look at that and make sure you stay safe. I've never known anybody who's had a problem with this. But that doesn't mean for some people it's a problem. But you get more grounded when you do this. You become clearer. You don't become more agitated. You act with wisdom. It's not compulsive. And it's not extreme. If anything, you become stiller, calmer, and more intentional with one's action and with what you say. And it becomes more sane. You're less agitated, you're less prone to anger, you're less reactive. Do you see, we tap into qualities that we all seek, and that's the sign that it's all moving in the right direction. And so we're always mindful, how is this working? How does this make me feel? So as we move into the practice element, I didn't realize I would give such a profound talk. Parts of it were coming to me for the last couple days, and yesterday I kind of put it together, but it's come out 1,000,000 times better than I had it in my mind, so I'm happy for that. The songs at the end. 3 times a piece. For some, it's repetitive, and maybe hard to get through. And for others, hopefully most of you, it's very beautiful and it captures you and you go with the flow. It's a plug. It's a plug of beauty, of beautiful notes, beautiful voices, sacred melodies, and sacred mantras of God. And what it does is it heals us through the rest of the week. Or if you're not listening to it at home, it's all on the website if you wish to download the music. There's a portion of music and video, and they're there. It's medicine. We take in our world, our speed, our pressure, our environment, the expectations, other people's actions towards us, our unhappiness. We're surrounded by that. This is an opportunity to be surrounded with something different. And it helps heal and reset. It brings joy and beauty into our hearts, and it floods our body with serotonin, which helps heal and calm our minds so it's less agitated. And therefore it's easier to slip into lower, deeper levels of being because our minds are already closer to that because it's not agitated. See, if we weren't agitated, if we didn't have these things, our minds would naturally be very similar to the deeper inner cathedrals of ourselves. This is why holy people and monks live excluded from society. Some of them. And are born there or found as children and then taken away because then these aspects never fully develop and it's easier to touch into lower levels. When we listen to the music, it brings back a reset button. So when we engage with the week, we've had that breath of fresh air, or at the end of the day, we put on the song, or in the car, we put on the song. We choose to have a renaissance in that moment, a renaissance, a rebirth. We're being rebirthed continuously. Do we take a rebirth and do something that hits a reset, refresh, let's take the load off? And so I invite you, when the music comes on in the end, to let go into it. Let go the resistance, let go of it. If there's a resistance, see it as the wall of the mind, putting up a force field, a turbulence. And so I invite you to just let go of it. Don't judge the song. Don't get even to feelings for those who might feel resistance. But get into it. And part of the resistance is also not singing along. Why is it important to sing along? Because you're not just hearing the vibration, you're singing it and vibrating it within you. There's a prayerful intent. You're actively praying for the healing of people. You can hear a prayer or you can emanate a prayer. You're praying. Yes, it's a foreign language, but it doesn't stop the prayer. You can say the words and it has an effect, But if you know what the words mean, it has a greater effect because now you're conscious of what you're saying. Please, God, heal her. Please. It's a plea to the healing of a person or the healing of our connection with the feminine aspect of the Shekhinah, wisdom, consciousness, our healing to a specific man, low, or the male aspect of the Shekhinah, how we act, how we speak. So the manifested aspect, not the inner qualities, but how we manifest the inner qualities. That's the masculine aspect. Or the low could be a physical person. Then we never forget ourselves. Please heal me. What ails me? What troubles me? And my connection, our connection, to be able to manifest the Shekhinah. And then we realize that it's a human condition. So we're praying for the whole world. Please, God, heal all of us. Help all of us get closer to you. You see? And we could even see it heal her, heal our manifestation to the Shekhinah. The whole world in the healing and connection to the feminine aspect. The whole world connection to the masculine aspect. Do you see? So it's a prayer. So by singing along, we participate in a communal prayer where you particularly are manifesting the prayer to God. And it doesn't matter if you have the most beautiful voice in the world, or it is off key, off tone, crackly, whatever it is. It's always beautiful in God's ears because it's a manifestation of your heart, especially when it's a prayer. So I invite you to let go into that river of song, because it is a river, it is a current. You're plugging in to a manifested aspect of the Shekhinah, because these are very beautifully done songs, aligned, holy, with great voices, the notes, the frequencies. I don't play songs lightly, my friends. There's a reason this is good. I listen to them. They're not off. I get blessings from them. And so by singing along, going with the flow, the first time maybe you don't feel it's played, but the second time, try a little bit. And you could sing along, and then suddenly you feel like praying, or you feel like getting pulled deeper by the beauty of the song, and then you're passive by listening, but you're in the current. And then if you realize your heart singing along, your soul singing along, your prayer, your desire for what the song's saying is manifesting in an energetic way. And that's a powerful prayer, because then you've entered into the whole frequency of the prayer. And you're no longer so much engaging with your life, but the frequency that's emanating from your body has shifted. And that creates a deep reset and healing aspect for us. So when we go into our week or into the rest of our day, we're more aligned, we're more based into frequencies and a current that's closer to what God intended for us and for our lives to be. Does that make sense? Right? A little small for me to read. Let me see if I can do something here. But I hope you can read it. Let me see here. right? Yahweh, hear our faith, our prayer. The sick, those who are disconnected, right, can be considered. I'm sorry, what's going on in the top there? I apologize. I thought I looked at this a million times and there's still something. I don't know why my computer does something like this. I apologize. I'm going to create a new version. Oh, I didn't even notice. I've checked a million times in the title. I apologize. A million times. How in the world? So the sick, the supplication, right? It's a calling. It's a caring. You care with your heart, right? Please, God, heal her. Please, God, heal him. Does that make sense? So it's a prayer. We pray deeply. You know, the programs sadly aren't used to putting up Hebrew. So even up to the last second, it sometimes glitches. It's been very challenging to put Hebrew in some of the programs I've tried, and I guess that's a manifestation of that. I hope one of these days that shifts. So I hope this is helpful to you to have an understanding as to why we go about doing things. And when the prayer has less of me in it and open space, it's really an invitation to, as a group, because we're all praying at the same time, to find what works for you individually and try to make it through the length, even if you end up just stretching towards the end because you can't hold it. With time, it becomes easier. Or you just look at your prayer space, or you pull out your Torah and you find your favorite chapter or verse rather, and you read that line, those lines, and you sit with that message. That's a form of prayer. But we're learning to stay. And with time, it becomes increasingly more workable. This is to connect with the inner aspects of ourselves, the inner yogas. It's very profound, and it's the fastest way to get there. Because we've turned around from focusing on the external, and we've turned inward. And we realize that a lot of what we sought outside of ourselves is actually within. Is it without? Is it within? Is it both? Is it transcendent, beyond, without, and within? I would say it's all of the above. So why don't we take a moment and we're going to pray. And then after the music, don't worry, we're not going to pray for an hour today. After the music, I'm not going to say anything for a little bit, maybe, I don't know, whatever I feel until I feel the energy of the group shift. Rest in the open space after the songs are prayed. No technique, just let that current that was created of the singing, the songs, the melody, and stay open, floating in that river of blessing, and be in it. And we'll rest in that for a little bit. Is that okay with you all? I hope it is. So why don't we do 10 minutes and prepare your space. I'll move this to my prayer space, my little equipment here. But remain mindful as you walk about. Quiet. The water shouldn't be too hot or too cold. The light shouldn't be too bright. Be in that perfect womb place. If your children might agitate you, maybe not go around them. Tell your spouse to go check on them, if that's needed. Maintain your space. Prepare your space. And we'll light the candle and the incense together. The power of communal prayer at the same time is the stability and the depth of the whole holds us all. And it helps those who are beginning and creates a beautiful space of prayer which feeds our heart because it's the most beautiful thing. So 10 minutes, my friends. So we'll reconnect at 8:53. So why don't we just do a little stretching and start with that. All right. So let's light our prayer spaces and connect, invite God to enter our space. And then if you have incense, up to Him as sort of to connect, sort of an offering of a beautiful, holy smell in gratitude and in it's a form of submission of ourselves, sort of to His holiness, to the Shekhinah, the giving up of things that don't serve us, of aspects of ourselves that we maintain that's out of alignment. And that slight bow you do when you offer up the incense above our heads, it's an intent it's actually a release of the currents of our minds and the offering up to the frequency, a shift of that frequency to the frequency that lives within us. Yes? So it's both outwards and also a desire to realign with the deeper current within us as well. So it's quite profound. All right, so why don't we do that? So the very act of lifting up the incense, if one has practiced, can into an alignment where you immediately just drop beneath the clouds and they disappear. So with time, the effort to drop in can be released almost instantly. Simply a shifting of awareness. It's like you're learning to swim and it takes time. But when you're a practiced, experienced swimmer, you dive into the pool. There's no longer a fear or lack of an ability to dive, and your dive is perfect. And you break through the water, and you're in your perfect stroke, and you're just slicing through it all. Does that make sense? So when we lift it and we're into that prayer space and the desire to connect, it's just instantly, woof, you've immediately plugged into an essence that connects you to the Shekhinah. All right, so if I'm kind of stretching out my legs a little bit for that last moment of release before entering the prayer posture. So it's all about creating the conditions that allow energy to flow, releasing the resistance. It's all about releasing resistance and dropping in. We don't create anything because it's there. Does that make sense? Perfect. So if you have your malas, you can take them out. If that's what you wish to include in your practice today or not. Sometimes just sitting in a more practice that doesn't involve mantras is very powerful. It's sort of two different roads of getting there. I mix them both. It's two separate practices, the stillness and working with the energy of sound and words. Okay. Oof. Put your hands over your heads. Palms sort of forward, but it can be slightly angled, and sort of raise up your spine a little bit if that's comfortable for you. And then I kind of move myself to the left and to the right. So if I move to the left, my palms touch sort of the lower back, and my right hand is sort of at my stomach or a little bit more to the side, and I just comfortably curve. So my neck moves to the left, and I try to look slightly behind me to whatever it feels comfortable, and then I shift to the other side. So the right hand is at the spine, at the spot middle or towards low, whatever feels comfortable, and the left hand is touching the side, and I kind of twist over. Be careful if you have back problems. I wouldn't quite indicate it, but maybe a light stretch to the extent you can might help move it. And then I reach forward again. Palms could face to each other, or it could face forward, whatever you think. I tend to have lower back problems, and this sort of helps. It gives flexibility, and the energy moves really through the spine. It's the super highway of the body, and it helps the mind settle. And then you can settle into a deeper prayer that doesn't have the resistance. And this is how you can sometimes pray for hours at end with no resistance. It just feels natural, and you're in the flow of the river. And then when you're into retreat, you could spend days like this, as you're eating, as you're walking, as you're looking at the trees. And it enters your sleep eventually, where you are in a very prayerful space when you sleep. And then it could enter dreams where you're conscious in your dreams. All of it is learning to live from that deeper river of the Shekhinah within. And it's a beautiful journey, and it's amazing. All right. So line up, breathe, and then we'll do the Shema. Oh my, was I just speaking now, or was I speaking into the void? I'm sorry, I don't know if the mic was on. Let me check. Okay, it was coming through. I don't know why I suddenly saw the mic off. Um, so we're going to say the prayer, and then I invite people to sing it once or twice themselves after it's sung. That calling out to God through a profession of faith, but it's also a tapping in to where God lives within. And then we'll practice for 20, 30 minutes together. And then we'll listen to some songs, and I hope people pray it themselves. If you're not able to pray, maybe hum it, or just say it softly in your breath if you have physical problems that make it challenging. But try to engage. A prayer for ourselves, a prayer for our world, prayer towards people that we know that need it. Ultimately, that's one of the truest prayers that we can make to bring in that healing, that reconnection.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai
Breathe, relax. Let go of any tension on the out breath. Find that still point within you and rest there and pray there and relax into that beautiful, open, rich space.
החולים, את החולים, אל הרפאה, אל מי שברא אבותינו, מקור החיים לאמותינו, הוא יברך את החולים, את החולים, אל הרפאה, אל החיים לאמותינו, הוא יברך וירפא את החולים, את החולים. החיים ואימותינו הוא יברך וירפא את החולים את החולים
תרצה ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד.
תרצה
לעולם ועד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד.
Relax. Exhale, breathe. Open, relax, open. May today's prayer bless us, our families, our countries, and our world. Amen. Thank you for joining me this week, and I look forward to being with you all next week.